This is my 1991 Nissan 300ZX, and today I'm going to start pulling the exhaust, then the transmission, to do a rear main seal on it. Now the first thing I actually had to do was, because this jack didn't go low enough, I had to put it up on wooden blocks, but you're going to go ahead and jack it up, get it as high as you can, and get it on jack stands. Probably, I'm going to say all four corners, just to make it easier when you're under it, and the more level the car, the more safe it's going to be when you're under it. Now where I usually use to check the front of the car up front is, you can see the frame rail running right here. And there's a pretty solid point right there where it looks about 3 or 4 pieces of metal come together, and a pretty solid piece stops right there. So I usually jack it up right there. Seems pretty solid there. And then I put the jack stand, as you can see over there, I put it underneath the front subframe around the cross member. First thing I'm going to do is, I have this bottle, it's half acetone, half ATF. I'm going to shake it up. You can pretty much use any penetrating lubricant. This is just something I made I'm going to use. But I'm going to spray it on all the exhaust bolts that I'm going to be taking off, including the pipes of the air injection that connect to the header. I actually know they connect to the mid pipe, but I'm going to be taking those off just so everything will come down easily. Alright, when you get to your air injection, what I thought I was going to be doing was pulling this out of the exhaust, the hard pipe, which it is in there, so I do not recommend that. The easiest way by far is this. It's just clamped on there with an 8mm bolt that holds the clamp together, 8mm or Phillips if you choose to go that route, and you just take that loose and wiggle this off, and you got both sides free. So that's the easiest way. Now that I have air injection taken off, next thing I'm going to do is just start at the back and work my way forward with taking the exhaust off. Each side, 2 bolts holding it in right there. You can either take those 2 bolts out, or the bracket right here holding it to the hanger can be taken off also, and then it'll drop down and stop hanging, and that's probably actually the easiest route to go, so that's what I'm going to do. Next is going to be the cross member, and then you could probably, if you have enough room, you could just drop the header down. I'm going to keep the cross member up there actually until I get the header down, so if it falls, the whole exhaust doesn't fall down on me. That's the plan. And now, just in the nature of good practice, go ahead and I took these hangers out, so now exhaust is just hanging there, sitting on the cross member probably. Go ahead and put your bolts back in the holes they came out of, just so you don't lose them. You don't have a half put together car whenever you're done. I'm not fully confident that I'm going to have enough room to clear the jack stands with all the exhaust, so I am going to pull this cross member, and then these 4 bolts, 2 bolts on each pipe holding it to the catalyst. So that's the next step. I have this exhaust off. These bolts right here were 17mm. The cross member ones were 12mm. And then the next ones you're going to have to undo are the hangers that are right here. There's one for the left bank and one for the right bank. And they both are held to this weight on the transmission. They're both held on there by 12mm nuts. The next thing I'm going to do, or I already have done, is I removed the slave cylinder right here. And of course this is only accurate if you have a manual transmission. If you have an auto, then you will not be removing a slave cylinder. But I've removed the slave cylinder, put the bolts in it. It's dangling right there. The push rod fell out of it. Got it right there. It will go back in whenever I put it all back together. The next thing I'm going to do is remove the starter, which is going to be, if I can move it, it's going to be that bolt right there. and then that nut right there. And that should be all that holds the starter on there, besides the wires that connect to the battery. If you haven't already, you want to disconnect your battery so you don't risk shorting the power wire to the body. So it's going to be the next step. Alright, the starter is unbolted. I made the mistake of not disconnecting the wires first. That's something that you want to do. You want to disconnect the wires first. The bolts holding it on are 14s also, just like the slave cylinder. And then after you do that, then you go to the header. And once you get the starter out of the way, it's very easy to get to these exhaust studs. I went and put mine back on for a separate video I'm doing. But I was unlucky enough to have all three of them break on this one. And then over here I had one of them break. So that one wasn't terrible. This one's going to be a pain. Hopefully you have a lot easier time with it than I did right there. But I thought I'd go ahead and stop right here for the first video, since this took a good couple hours to do. But yeah. So I've reached my stopping point for the day. If the video helped you guys out, let me know. Leave a like. If not, just tell me what you think. I plan on making maybe 2 more, maybe just 1 more video on how to actually replace the rear main seal. Right now we just have the exhaust off to get to the transmission, but there's quite a bit more to it than that, so I guess tomorrow I'll pick up on that and try to maybe finish this out.